Today's guest is Paul de Roos. Paul is a neurologist specialising in movement disorders with 20 plus years of experience in medical and non-formal education, including skills training rooted in European student organisations. He's the founder of the organisation Zero Generation, a non-profit that supports the Youth Trainers Academy and the European Leadership Summer School. Paul studied medicine in Amsterdam. He's now based in Uppsala, Sweden, where he teaches neurology and works as a clinician at Uppsala University Hospital. This year, he hopes with his company to launch a trainer-trainer program on experiential learning for residency program directors, those who are responsible for the design and development of the learning environment of young doctors who are in training to become specialists. Paul, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you for the introduction. It sounds sounds a bit overwhelming when I hear all that. Is that really me? But yeah, no, I'm doing fine. Today was one of those, first spring days here in Sweden. So 9 degrees Celsius, full sun. It gives hope that the leaves will turn green soon on the trees, and life is going to be getting better and most of all warmer.
Okay, well, good luck in Uppsala. So that's north of Stockholm, isn't it? So how close are you to the Arctic Circle?
I have no idea, but I'm closer to Stockholm than Stockholm Airport, which is a major hub. For me, being close to an international airport is part of my way of life. It's dark here in the winter. It's too dark, but it's not polar circle dark. So it's somewhere in between. But I can't wait for the summer to come.
I'm sure. Okay, well, look, it's great to see you again. We last met at the Trainers Forum conference in Barcelona about 18 months ago. And how's life been since then?
I've been doing lots of travels, reconnecting with old friends, people from the network of trainers, so people that are part of the organizing committee in Barcelona, like Mitja. I got the chance to see him in Maribor. I traveled around Slovenia in autumn last year. I went to Croatia twice. I went did some road trips around the coast. One time with my daughter and one time on my own. So yeah, I've been seeing friends, reconnecting with the network. It was a bit of soul searching last year, reprioritizing what's important in life. Trying to finish a PhD, in the back of my head, this idea: I have so much skills that I'm not using at work these days, and I need a platform to use them. And this is mainly in like the field of training. Here I'm thinking of, okay, I need to develop more projects. And then one of the things that I came across when traveling in Slovenia was a professor that needed help with his summer school. And well, that's one of the collaborations that I have going on now that brings me back to Slovenia this year. So I've been traveling, and I've been looking inside and then trying to manifest some things in the outside world with education as a central anchor point.
Okay, well, I've got some tricky questions for you about the summer school coming up, so I'm looking forward to that. But before we get into your, professional activities, could I start with a few questions about your early days? So, for example, what were your hobbies and interests?
I guess if you think early days, end of high school, early university days, I think back then I used to dance around 10 hours a week until age 23, 18 to 23. It was a lot of dancing. It was playing the saxophone in there. That's something I never stopped with. I started with that around age of 8. So music has been a red thread recurring in my life. And then I guess from student times, I moved to Amsterdam. And once I settled there, I was doing loads of voluntary work, mainly exploring how to become a good doctor as a human, like the archetype of a human that can help others, a human that can be there for others. Things I was feeling I was not learning in my medical school. So I think I was really focused there on getting the soft skills, getting the skills needed for interacting with people. And as a matter of fact, growing confidence in public speaking was part of that as well. I was terrified of that while I was in high school. It was like at some moment to the degree where the teacher said, Paul, okay, now you can present your book report. And I said, well, you can give me a grade 1, or we had a 10-point scale there. Give me a failure, and then I'm over with it. I was that scared for standing in front of my classroom back then. I think I was 16 years old. So yeah, life took some different turns after that.
Okay, well, I spend a lot of time with my public speaking these days, but I had a few traumatic events as a young person, which I'm not going to go into today because this is your show today. But let's just come back to your inspiration for being a doctor. Are there any other doctors in your family, or are you the first?
I'm in a family of teachers and small entrepreneurs. So my father is a teacher. My mother has a teaching degree, but she never has worked as a teacher, at least not when she got children. Before that, she has. But my inspiration to start working in neurology came after my inspiration to start working in the hospital. I think the first hunch I had when I was 12, and my parents said, you want to work in the hospital, write HR a letter and ask them what you can do. Well, they didn't have jobs for 12-year-olds, but they had jobs for 16-year-olds. That's the answer I got. So I referred to my letter that I wrote when I was 12. When I applied as a 16-year-old, I think I sent a letter somewhere in September. And I said, well, you told me a few years ago there is jobs. I want to work in the summer and in weekends. What do you have for me? And before I knew it, I was a janitor in the hospital, and I've done that for like 5 years. I cleaned everything possible, from surgery theaters to public toilets and everything in between. So that was the starting point. But it got me closer to the bedside. It got me closer to the patients. So some summers I worked as a kitchen assistant, and I was allowed to bring the food. So that was a step closer. And I saw there were nursing assistants running around, but they were all above 18. So I had my eyes set on, hey, maybe that's something I can do then. So yeah, as soon as I got the chance to upgrade myself to nursing assistant, I did it in parallel with my cleaning job. I kept cleaning as well. Then I started working as a nursing assistant. So that's physical care, bedside, and I started doing that in the neurology wards. I did that for 5 years too. So that's like the exploration process. Where do I want to go, and with whom do I want to work? And one of the key inspirations to pick neurology was an American neurologist that has amazing writings of patient stories. His name is Oliver Sacks. And one summer when I was 19, I read basically all his works. Yeah, I fell in love with the idea of the profession. So my parents said, well, if you think about that, you have to test whether it's actually your thing. So then I went to look for other opportunities. So one side is the patients, and the other side was looking for opportunities to do research and see what that is like. Yeah. So that's like active exploration, creating my own learning environment.
Yeah. Now, quick question. So you did all this reading, you read all of his books, and you're a cleaner in the ward. Did you not go around? I would almost feel like I had enough knowledge to go around giving people advice at that point. So did that happen at all, or is that just me?
I can tell you, I think the more you know, the more you know very little. So it's been a growth process, and I definitely recall moments of ignorance there where I was delivering care and seeing phenomenon that I could not understand, and then yeah, and not knowing what to do and being in such vulnerable position. No, I've been there recurrently, and that also made me realize later on in life why they wanted people to be at least 18, because what you encounter is not always easy to digest. So yeah, now the running around as a giving advice, I don't think I contemplated over that. Like, I think I got exposed to the vulnerability of life in general, that people die, that people get sick beyond measure, and often that there's no way of return. So I guess respect for life and death, and the risks that come when you try to play with that, as in prolong a person's life, or and the consequences when you do so and it doesn't work out well. So I got exposed to that quite early. Yeah, no, I think respect is the key word that comes there. Not I can do all these things. Even when I was a doctor, I was more realizing what I cannot do than what I can do, and I think I still operate in that mode. Even though I'm a licensed neurologist, asking questions is something I keep doing because I feel I need to continue learning. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think asking questions is some people love questions and some people love to answer them, and some people just don't want to share what they know for one reason or another. I don't know why that is, but
that is so true. And I guess there's different cultures in Europe. There's a northwest, north and south gradient, east-west gradient in how the culture of the specialty looks, and the collaboration in the workplace. And also the expectation that the neurologist knows everything about neurology and hence shall make all the decisions on his own. This is what comes with the license. I think in many countries this is the ID, while the same ID we have in Sweden, but we also have it normalized that there's always somebody that knows more. And you ask that person that knows more to get the best possible care for the patient. So we grow interdependent neurologists in Sweden more than hyper-independent ones. So.
Question again on that point: did you always have access to somebody who is senior to you, and again can sort of give you that guidance as and when required, or would you have to wait a week, by which time it might be too late? I don't know.
Are you talking about the process of learning to become a neurologist, or what? I'm talking
a specific patient. If a specific patient was showing particular symptoms, and you weren't quite sure where this was, the pattern wasn't quite there, would you have that backup?
Yeah, the backup is always there, and
okay,
then depending
great.
on urgency, it is immediate or a little bit later. So I think what you learn relatively early on in your specialty training is the sense of what is urgent and what can wait, and make your call on that. And then if you think this is something complex, but that it requires a lot of thinking, then you take the time to think. But if you think there is an immediate risk for the patient, then you get immediate supervision. And that is always available when you're a junior doctor. When you're a specialist, it may not be immediately available, but then you just change the ambition. The patient shall survive tonight. The patient shall survive this week. And then meanwhile, you try to secure the best possible help. So yeah, I guess there you do kind of a triage on this is what is required of me right now. This is the knowledge I have. This is the knowledge I'm missing. How can I bridge that gap? And if I cannot do it on my own right now, how can I do it in the least damage-causing way, or how can I do it the safest possible way? But after a while, and this is a time, it's like pilots, you know. If you do it often enough, you get the answers to most questions. So for the super acute situations, maybe the percentage is sufficiently high that I can take the decisions on my own, and that my colleagues can trust that I will not harm their patients. And you know, that's what comes with the maturing of yourself in the profession. And I think most situations I know what to do, and if I don't, then I also know who to ask for help. And
okay,
there is acute help. Acute help is always available. Like there's anesthesiologists and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. For any patients out there, that's very reassuring. I'm glad to hear it. Okay. So Paul, yeah, you're a neurologist. You've just finished a PhD. You're associate fellow of the Association of Medical. You're not
PhD
a PhD
is not
yet.
done yet.
Not yet. When's it gonna be done? I preempted your PhD. My apologies.
Yeah. So I still have my eye on this year of finishing all the things, but most likely the official examination will happen early or in spring 2027. So.
Okay, that makes my question even better, actually, because if you're still doing your PhD, my
Yeah.
question really was about all of your activities. You're a fellow of the Association of Medical Education in Europe. You've founded a number of NGOs, and you're doing a PhD, and you're doing your medical practice. Where do you find time to have a life?
Often I try to find synergies between activities, and I work on what fits right now. So one can do the preparation of a lecture, and then that preparation is also the same preparation you would do for a lecture or a workshop that you would give in another context. So you do the job once for one employer, and then you have the knowledge, so you can use it in a different context. That's one way to look at it. The other way is looking at low-hanging fruit, or looking at things that give leverage. So small things that make a big difference. Here one can think of healthy habits, because if your body is healthy and you feel good about life, you can do more things. Recovery, and there I'm thinking about giving the brain rest so it can recover, and not constantly pushing. So I think for many of my projects, the timelines are longer than they were before. I have more health in focus, but I can also say when I was between my 20s and 30s, I could work like a machine. And I did pay a high price for that, because you always pay a price. So people look at your CV like, oh, wow, but the price you pay can be really big. And I think focusing on performance, focusing on achieving results, I paid with humanity. So bits of myself didn't develop and remained underdeveloped. And I didn't focus on them because I didn't need them for my goals. But when you're later in life and you become more like relationship focused, or you become a parent, you need to grow these things anyway. If you don't, it will cause mayhem in your life. So I think life has been dictating priorities and speed based upon what is needed. So I guess the just-in-time approach has been used many times. And some things can take their time, like a PhD, you don't have to have done tomorrow. You can have a timeline for it that is less stressful. You can enjoy the process, even though it's sometimes not that enjoyable, even though I love the topic. But it's just also plain hard to do the task.
Okay. Now, quick question. Moving from Amsterdam to Uppsala, are you speaking in English in Sweden, or if you had to learn the language? And if so, was that
Yes.
difficult?
Yeah. It took me around a year to get a proper working level language. But I was confronted with the options for my career development in the Netherlands. Do a PhD and try to fit in, because you're going to be observed all the time that you do a PhD, whether you fit into the culture of the group. And then you may or may not get the possibility to become a neurologist. Or learn the language and spend 1 year doing that, work half a year on probation, and get a contract. And then where you get the contract is where you have your employment and where you can grow to become a specialist. This was the Swedish option, but I looked at all European countries. I looked at migration flows. I looked at where's quality of life balance better. So yeah, that's how I ended up here. With the proper limitations around work hours being a bit more modest than in my home country or in the UK, and work hours being more aligned with what you actually get paid for. So I think those things, they were important for me, also for the freeing of time for doing all the other projects.
Okay, outside of work, what would you say would be the major culture shock? Moving from one country to from a Europe, I know they're both European countries, but
Yeah.
from Southern Europe to more a collectivism, culture.
I think there is something in the Nordics called the law of Jante, which basically says everybody is the same. Don't pretend you are somebody. Don't pretend you know better than us. Don't pretend you're anything. And I lost my first work opportunity due to it. There was this journalist from a national newspaper that works in the healthcare sector, they make a list of powerful people on social media. Back then, Twitter was a thing. And when I moved to Sweden, I changed my country from the Netherlands to Sweden. And as I was an early adopter, I had quite a big following. And because they didn't really do proper background checking, and the social media in healthcare power lists that they make annually was not very well investigated, I ended up number 2 in Sweden behind the Minister of Health. And that was not liked by the people that had to sign the contract to employ me. It caused fear, it caused worry, it caused them somehow losing their interest in employing me. And this was just basically me changing status from the Netherlands to Sweden. And when you are different than others, or when you are ranked, you better have a track record, you better be one of them. They better know you, because if they don't, you're a fraud. And that's the kind of stamp I got from that workplace. I ended up in a much better situation afterwards, but it was a big challenge, right? And it basically also led to me going, well, undercover. I think this is the first public appearance where I know there will be a YouTube video with me being in public. You know, I can say this situation back in 2012 caused a tremendous fear for the law and breaking it. And I still think with, you know, an amount of respect to how people want to live and work here. But I definitely look for opportunities to not have to obey this law and find my crowd where I can be myself. So I think the culture shock there is, if you have to be like everybody else, you cannot have an interest profile that is not like everybody else. So being a neurologist and being a seasoned educator in experiential learning and doing that as 2 full-time careers at the same time, it's beyond comprehension of many people. And then it's like, how can we sabotage that? You know,
it's beyond my comprehension, but I don't want to sabotage you. Okay. Now, next question. So you've been involved in a number of NGOs. So could you tell us about your interaction there and the influence maybe that you've created within that foundation?
Yeah. So back in 2006, I just finished some of my student board jobs for the student union. I failed miserably as a president of the local student union. And then I had a very nice coaching conversation with the director of the medical school. And she said, "Paul, do you know about this thing called emotional intelligence?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that sounds interesting. Let me read about it." I think that was the best reading I ever did. I was like, okay, that's something I may need to dig deeper into. It was like Working with Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And it made me realize that the fertile environment to learn the skills that I needed to learn was not there. So I was like, what if I create that experience and that learning environment myself and solve it forever? That's where the idea was born to create this summer school on leadership. That has been a recurring annual event since 2008, and there's hundreds of people that have been contributing to this project with their free time, with their own love for personal development since it was founded. And I'm deeply grateful with the people I got to meet on the road developing this summer school. And then this also led to the creation of the Zero Generation Foundation to support the infrastructure of the summer school. And then there was another project that was created. We needed more trainers for the soft skill training. And then I sat down with one of the other co-founders, Hervé Tunga from Paris. We looked at all the train-the-trainer documents from all international student organizations, and we tried to synthesize what was good in all of them and make something better. It was a pretentious goal. And I guess from the initial design discussions with Hervé has been taking it next level every year with a very, I want you can say, structured approach, like an engineer, to evaluation and improvement, iterative every year. So that project, Youth Trainers Academy, is still there. And Hervé has been pulling it off together with another friend of mine, Milda. I occasionally have the chance to come there as a guest. And one of the other guests on your podcast, Paolo, I recently met him there as well. So this is where the Train the Trainer project came in for the first time in my life, where I was like, okay, let's create experiential learning experts. And then because I work in academia, I felt like I need to anchor myself in evidence-based education. So one of the special things I managed to organize in Sweden with the help of the education director of the Uppsala University medical faculty back then was to get a residency with an education specialization. And there's like 3 or 4 residents in Sweden that have done this. And in neurology, I think I'm still the only one. So that gave me a subspecialization in education while also becoming a neurologist. So I guess I've been pushing forward this knowledge development on experiential learning since then. So back to the Zero Generation supports Youth Trainers Academy and Leadership Summer School, and maybe more projects in the future. That's something we have to see. But yeah, that's the nonprofit that I still contribute to, and I guess I'll still like to contribute to nonprofit projects. Like Trainers Forum is also a fantastic event to contribute to, because what you give is what you get. You learn so much from the people you meet there.
Absolutely. Now, I was just going to mention, you mentioned Paolo, and yes, Paolo was the first person I interviewed on the Train the Trainer podcast. So tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to Trainers Forum, and I know you're busy with lots of different projects, but unfortunately you weren't available for the last one in Bergamo, which Paolo hosted, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a shame you weren't there. Will we see you this year?
So the problem is I need to know in which week it is almost half a year in advance. That's because of the scheduling. That is the obstacle for me getting there. But if I manage to get the preliminary dates before mid-May, then I may be able to attend. So I hope I get the chance there. But the organizers of Trainers Forum, many of them have been engaged in Leadership Summer School as well. They may as well have met each other there and came up with the idea, hey, let's do something else for trainers. Like I know Mitja has been there from the beginning, and I have seen him in his own student organization doing some training, advanced trainer course. But I have seen him as a trainer in Leadership Summer School as well. So I guess the circle of these NGO trainers in Europe, there's so much overlap. The most active people, they all know each other.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised by that, to be honest, but there we are. Now, this year, you've got 4 workshops lined up for T-Brain Boost Summer School. Is that right? In Slovenia?
Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
How many students are you expecting?
I think usually they have around 20 participants and 16 staff. So this is like an amazing event. That's why I was like, when I heard about it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. What can I do to help? And then I met the founder of the program, and we had a nice coffee together. And I shared a little bit how I was working on a different summer school that I did before, because after Leadership Summer School, I created the summer school of Parkinson's disease. And what I tried to do there was bring together academic education and this non-formal education, this training culture in one event, with the focus on collaborating in teams, group dynamics, understanding it, and solving difficult tasks together, like you would do in a team building training. But the difficult task is an academic task. So looking at the previous T-Brain Boost editions, I looked at the program. I was like, well, this looks like a traditional academic program. but it has so much potential. So I shared the ideas, and Uros, the founder of that program, he liked them, and he said, well, Paul, come and help us. And that's what I decided to do, because to be honest, like my summer school in Parkinson's disease, I've done 5 years in a row between the years 2009 and 2013. It's a long time ago. It's time to, you know, to do new stuff. And I guess once I have my PhD and I'm finished with that, I will be running my own courses and have more time for such things. But right now I was like, okay, I can tag along here and support somebody else that has an interest in organizing an interesting event. So T-Brain Boost is about movement sciences. It's about healthy aging. It's about cross-disciplinary collaboration. So any fields are welcome. If you know why you want to be there and you can tell about that, then you're kind of welcome. So the application process is very wide and open. And then the idea is that the participants will get to work on real societal problems with experts that actually work in the business, with researchers. So that's the idea. So it's a European funded program. It's networking. It is high levels of competence and youngsters with a passion for a topic together in one space, and them learning together. So what we bring from the training world in there is that the groups will be small groups working together. We look at how they work, their group process. We try to keep them on track. We have reflection groups where their experience of participation is anchored in actual learning. So, you know, the experiential learning circle is going to be closed every day. And people will be doing
Kolb there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly that. So Kolb, adult learning, those are like basic principles in the background, and the students will be presenting for experts almost every day. So there's a public speaking element to it as well, and feedback on public speaking. And the experts, instead of having long lectures, they get TEDx-like talks. So their long lectures are also turned into a public speaking exercise instead. And then the expert's role is to give feedback on content to the people that are presenting to them, the participants. And that's also, it's going to be really nice because the experts can really be expert. They don't have to be lecturer, they can be expert. They can share what they know and put the students on the right track with that. So we create this atmosphere where they can sit, you know, lazy with a glass of wine and snacks while they listen to the students. So for the senior experts that come there, it's going to be a networking experience. It's going to be transformational, as in, hey, this is academic learning, but my role is different. Yeah, this is something we piloted with the summer school in Parkinson's disease. So we did that 5 years in a row, and we had patient experts there. Here we don't look at the problems from a clinical perspective per se. Like healthy aging is not something that happens in the hospital, you know, but the healthy aging does cross roads with disease because aging and disease, they are connected. So yes, there is space for clinical perspectives there too, but it's not the core. So yeah, that's a little bit about that project, and also about the educational rationale that we try to develop. And then, of course, we have the workshops. They are teaser workshops. They are open to anybody. But we pitch a little bit about the summer school there, and we give people some skills that they may need to use there. So we did a workshop on AI and learning a couple of weeks ago, and in the beginning of April, quite soon, yeah, we'll have a workshop 1.5 hours on the use of AI in research. Yeah, then there will be some more interesting ones following after that.
Okay, well, it sounds like a fascinating curriculum. So is there any opportunities for podcast hosts?
That's a good question. I haven't really given that a thought yet. I need to think about that.
I'll send you a better message explaining, you know, my CV and why I'm interested.
Obvious. I mean, this is cool. You know, New ideas come up, and if it's not now, and it may be the next one. This is the dynamic. Also why I say yes to be on your podcast. It's sharing ideas. It's maybe people coming and like, oh, this is so cool, I want to know more. Oh, reach out and work together. I think there's always space for that.
Oh, well, that's nice. You're very generous. Thank you. So, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Again, you very kindly sent me the slides, and I hope I'm not putting my foot in it here. But I just want to ask you a couple of questions that were actually on the slides. So, you're talking about AI and diagnosis and that kind of thing. So how can we prevent falls and functional decline in older adults using scalable digital tools? I think that's a great question, and I'm sure the answer is going to be fascinating. Sorry to drop this on you at short notice.
No, I think this is the whole point. So this is a question that has like many layers to it, right? So fall prevention, scalable digital tools. So a first step, when you have to think about those things, what does this mean? And you have to start making a definition of the meaning of the question and all the different elements to it. And then how do you define whether the question is answered yes or no? So this is not a straight to the point question that you can just throw at AI and AI will answer it for you. This is the type of question where you need to chew on it. Like you can start with a fishbone diagram and say, okay, elderly people fall, why? And then there's a bit of evidence that you can chew through. There's medications that make you more prone to falling. There's orthopedic problems that make you more prone to falling. There is diseases that cause less sensitivity in your feet, like polyneuropathy, that can make you more prone to falling. Blood pressure can drop, make you more prone to falling. Or your brain is not braining, or basically the coordination system in your brain is not working, or the processing speed is slowing down. All those bits have causes by themselves. And then some of these causes, they can be targeted by observation, by biomarkers. Some of these can be targeted by training. Some of these can be targeted by increasing self-awareness. So you need to look at all the inputs and outputs possible, and then look for possibilities to leverage. And as you hear, there is the technology aspect to it, but there is user interaction design, there is psychology, there is habit learning, there is training of specific muscle groups. But all those things, they interact with each other, and they are so-called wicked problems. So when you solve one problem, another problem will emerge. And then your solution will be a part of the next iteration of the problem. So this, why it's on my slide is because it's a typically open-ended question. And what I want people to do is use their brains, because AI is fantastic once you have used your brains. For example, you make your analysis of what the problem actually is about. You give a quick pitch to AI about that problem and ask what is missing from the perspective of a patient, what is missing from the perspective of a physiotherapist, what is missing from the perspective of a consumer smartwatch designer. And with that, you can expand. So basically, in the first workshop where we used AI for learning, I also highlighted the design council model, the double diamond model for design thinking. And so forcing a person to first diverge, do have a proper amount of divergent thoughts, then converge for the problem formulation, and then the next step for the solution formulation. So basically, you threw the question at me, but that's the type of process that one needs to do. And I gave you snapshots from different elements of the process, but I cannot give you a definite answer, because that's the whole idea. And those answers usually are better made together with other people that have different perspectives. The one size fits all, one expert knows everything, you're doomed to fail. And this is why such type of questions we will try to tackle at the summer school, where the experts will set the stage for what type of questions will need to be answered, but they are interested in the health of movement and in healthy aging. and the participants will get to chew on real life problems that have real life implications when they get solved. They will not get to solve the problem during the summer school, but they have an exercise in thinking about it. They have an exercise in networking with people that actually can make a difference about it, and that can influence their career, their further growth, their view on life, on what they want to do with it. So yeah, self-esteem, self-efficacy, those are, I think, core outcomes, things that go up from my experience from my Parkinson's summer school.
I think next time I'm going to ask you a harder question, because that was a very comprehensive answer there for about 5 minutes, I think. But a great answer.
Sorry.
Now, no, not at all. No, the point is, now you just answered that question brilliantly. How can we get that answer into the next iteration of the equation? Because it's a shame the world missed that.
Well, I will be on the spot of the summer school, and I will not be one of the trainers. I will take part as a clinician. So my role as neurologist, I will have there, and look from the perspective of disease to the solutions presented. For me, this is going to be a really nice exercise in understanding real world solutions from the perspective of a person that only looks in terms of problems. Because what doctors are good at is putting their whole hand or whole finger at the problem. So you have this problem. It's called a diagnosis. But we don't think in solutions. We don't think like engineers. So for me, I think it's going to be mind expanding without using drugs. Interaction with people.
It is. I mean, the way you describe it, and again, I think the complexity of human beings. We're all kind of the same, but we're all slightly different as well. And certainly upstairs, we're a little bit different. And life and culture and religion and our work makes life incredibly subjective. So I think my next question, really, which was probably going to be my final question, because we're running out. I can't believe we've been talking for 45 minutes already. Yeah, how and who is going to make those big decisions? So I know AI can play a big part in the process, but I guess a human has got to make the sort of the clinical finality, if you like, or decide on the clinical finality and move that on. How would you go about that in your role as a clinician?
Let me first try to throw the question at you, because I need to be sure I grasp it right. Is your question about the role of technology in decision making of clinicians, or is it about the summer school, or is it about, like, I find it difficult to frame what you just shared with me.
Probably because I asked you 3 questions in one, so that might be not be very helpful.
Pick one to get me started.
Okay, so yeah, AI can give us lots of information. And I think my point was that human beings, we're all kind of different. I know we're similar, but we're different. And that there are various physical issues with the body as we get older, and we go into a bit of a decline. So I think there's probably some general patterns that you could follow as somebody offering the alleviation of pain, or maybe offering advice on how not to have that pain in the first place, things like that. Who ultimately is going to make the big decisions in the future? Is it going to be clinicians, or do you think that AI? I'd like the feeling that humans will always have the final say.
I have very little doubt that in the clinical practice where doctors operate or work, doctors should be the ones with the final responsibility. AI has no place in the decision-making process. It has a place in showing decision possibilities to complete the amount of thinking the doctor has done. So if I think about how I use AI myself, if you think of the patient has a problem, and you formulate the problem. But to that problem, there is on one way to look at it is what is the cause of the problem, and what is the solution. And when you think what is the cause of the problem, we have something we call differential diagnosis. It can be different things. So to make sure that the list of things you think about is sufficiently wide and you're not zoomed in too much, their AI, I think, can relieve us of a little bit of workload, but also support us. So the workload will be, instead of thinking of all the options ourselves, we choose the ones we know fit best, because this is what we need to do. We need to appraise whatever AI throws at us and judge whether it's valid for this particular patient. This translation cannot be done by AI itself. So I think that's one bit. And the other bit is when it comes to solutions, there we can also use it to widen our view on the type of solutions that are there by asking, I propose this solution, what am I missing? What other solutions could I think of that are evidence-based? You'll get mediocre answers most of the time. They get better over time. But I still think it's a nice thinking buddy there. Like, it can help us. But in the end, pulling the trigger on what to prescribe, or to look at alternative preparations of the same medication, I think in the end it is the doctors that need to make the decisions there based upon what they see in front of them. For example, a concept like frailty in elderly, you see a frail elderly person or a very healthy one. And
you're looking at one, yeah. So.
This is really, really hard to grasp, or you will probably need to add frailty markers or describe the person as frail to get adequate answers, but there still it may miss the point. So I guess AI will get better and better, and the more contextual knowledge it has, the better it works. But then who owns the AI? Where does the information go? This is a whole different problem sphere we end up in, because if they know a lot of context, they know the details about the patient that you don't want the insurance companies ever to know, neither politicians. So if you know that any of the big, most of the large language models that are accessible right now, they are not encrypted, and any government can get access to the files with a subpoena, and laws can change that or be created that are not there today, which means that what is legal today may be illegal tomorrow. What is something you want the society to be able to have access to may not be something you want it to know tomorrow. So yeah, there's a whole deal of problems with that we that we have to tackle in order to use technology.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your presence today, and your very open stance on sharing your life and your work. And I've really loved speaking to you today. I think Lao Tzu said that when you find a job that you love, you never do a day's work in your life. It sounds like you constantly have your hands full, and you're living every moment. And I'm really proud to know you. So thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there because time has run out. But please stay on the line. I just want to thank you personally. But I just want to round up by saying our next session is on Wednesday, April the 8th at 12 noon. That's CET, with my old friends Vincent Merck and Dr. Andrea Martinez Chelis, discussing UNESCO story circles and their use. And I'll see you then. Cheers, Paul.
Thank you.